Welcome to Agile Flashcards for the PMP, CAPM, and Scrum exams. These flashcards are short and direct, designed to get you into exam shape with focused, high-value content. While definitions could be longer, this set follows a minimum viable product, MVP approach. The goal is to give you the greatest return with the least complexity, helping you absorb key terms, understand core concepts, and recall them quickly under pressure. Use these cards to build familiarity, reinforce learning, and close knowledge gaps. Whether you're reviewing on the go or brushing up before the exam, these flashcards are here to keep your prep simple, structured, and effective. Let's get started. Agile core concepts. All right, let's get into the ABCs of Agile. Here are 200 beginner-friendly Agile terms, covering overarching ideas, values, principles, and general concepts. As we proceed, we will go deeper into Scrum, Kanban, and more. Acceptance criteria, conditions that a user story or backlog item must satisfy to be considered complete and accepted by the product owner. Adaptation, the ability to respond to change and adjust plans based on new information, a core tenet of Agile. Agile Manifesto, a foundational document outlining the 4 core values and 12 principles of Agile software development. Artifact, a tangible or intangible output or deliverable produced during the Agile process, e.g., product backlog, sprint backlog, increment. Automated testing, the practice of writing and running tests using software tools to verify that the code works as expected. B. Backlog, a prioritized list of work items that need to be addressed. Can refer to the product backlog or the sprint backlog. Backlog item, a single entry in the product backlog, often a user story, bug fix, or technical improvement. Burn down chart, a visual representation showing the amount of work remaining in a sprint or project over time. Burn up chart, a visual representation showing the amount of work completed in a sprint or project over time, often compared to the total scope. Business value, the worth or benefit that a feature or product provides to the business or its customers. CI cadence, a regular rhythm or cycle of events such as sprint length or meeting schedules. Change management, the process of managing and adapting to changes in requirements, priorities, or team composition. Collaboration, working together effectively as a team, including stakeholders, to achieve a common goal. Communication, open, frequent, and transparent exchange of information within the team and with stakeholders. Continuous improvement, the ongoing effort to identify and implement small, incremental improvements to processes and products. Cross-functional team, a team with all the necessary skills and competencies to complete the work without relying on external individuals or teams. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation, Agile value, emphasizing working closely with the customer throughout the project rather than rigid adherence to a contract. Customer satisfaction, a key goal of Agile achieved through the delivery of valuable and high-quality products. Daily stand-up, daily Scrum, a short daily meeting for the development team to synchronize activities and plan for the next 24 hours. Definition of done, DOD, a shared understanding within the team of what it means for a piece of work to be considered complete and ready for release. Definition of ready, DOR, a set of criteria that a product backlog item typically needs to meet before it can be considered for inclusion in a sprint. Deliverables, the tangible outputs or results of a project or sprint. Development team, the self-organizing group of professionals who do the work of delivering a usable increment each sprint. Domain expert, someone with deep knowledge and understanding of the business domain or industry. Early and continuous delivery of valuable software, Agile principle. Prioritizing frequent releases of working software to provide value to the customer early and often. Emergent design, the idea that the best design and architecture of a system emerge over time as the team learns more about the problem and the solution. Empirical process control, an approach based on observation, experimentation, and learning from experience. Transparency, inspection, adaptation. Estimate, An assessment of the effort, time, or cost required to complete a task or backlog item. Evolutionary development. Building a product incrementally with each increment building upon the previous one. F. Face-to-face conversation. Agile principle. Emphasizing in-person communication as the most efficient and effective method of conveying information within a development team. Facilitator. Someone who guides a meeting or workshop to ensure effective participation and outcomes. Feedback loop. A process of gathering and responding to feedback to improve the product or process. Feature. A distinct piece of functionality that provides value to the user. Flow. The smooth and continuous movement of work through the development process. Focus. Scrum value. Concentrating on the work of the sprint and the sprint goal. Goal, a desired outcome or objective, can refer to the sprint goal or the overall product goal. Grooming, backlog refinement, the ongoing process of reviewing, clarifying, and prioritizing items in the product backlog. H, high-performing teams. Agile aims to foster teams that are collaborative, self-organizing, and consistently deliver high-quality work. First, increment. A working version of the software that adds to previously built increments. Each increment should be potentially shippable. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Agile value. Valuing effective communication and collaboration among people over rigid adherence to processes and tools. Information radiator. A visible display of key information that helps the team and stakeholders stay informed, e.g. task board, burn down chart. Inspection. Regularly examining the progress, artifacts, and processes to identify areas for improvement. Iteration. A short, time-boxed period, often called a sprint, during which a team works to complete a set of tasks. Iterative development. Building a product in a series of short cycles, iterations, allowing for frequent feedback and adaptation. J. Just-in-time, JIT. A principle of lean and agile that emphasizes producing or delivering something only when it is needed. Kanban. A lightweight framework that focuses on visualizing workflow, limiting work in progress, and continuous flow. Often used in conjunction with agile principles. L. Lead time. The total time it takes for a work item to go from the moment it is conceived until it is delivered to the customer. Lean principles. A set of practices focused on maximizing value while minimizing waste. Agile draws inspiration from lean, learning, continuously acquiring new knowledge and skills to improve individual and team performance. Lightweight. Agile methodologies are designed to be flexible and have minimal overhead compared to traditional approaches. Limiting work in progress, WIP. A practice in Kanban and other agile methods to focus on completing tasks before starting new ones, improving flow and reducing context switching. Manifesto for Agile Software Development. Full name of Agile Manifesto. The complete title of the document outlining Agile values and principles. Metrics. Quantifiable measures used to track progress, performance, and identify areas for improvement. Minimum Viable Product, MVP. A version of a new product with just enough features to be usable by early customers who can then provide feedback for future product development. Motivation. Creating an environment where team members are motivated and empowered to do their best work. Negotiation in user stories. The understanding that the details of a user story are not fixed, but are refined through conversation between the development team and the product owner. Non-functional requirements, qualities of a system such as performance, security, and usability. O. Openness, Scrum value, being transparent about the work and any challenges. Outcome, the result or impact of the delivered product or feature. Agile focuses on delivering valuable outcomes. Output, the tangible work product delivered, e.g., software code, documentation. Agile emphasizes valuable outcomes over just outputs. PS pair programming, a technique where two programmers work together at one workstation, collaborating on the same code. Participatory design, involving users and stakeholders in the design process. Planning poker, a consensus-based estimation technique using numbered cards to estimate the effort required for backlog items. Potentially shippable increment, PSI, a working software increment that meets the definition of done and could be released to users if the product owner chooses to do so. Prioritization, the process of ordering backlog items based on their value, risk, or other criteria. Product backlog, a single prioritized list of all the features, enhancements, bug fixes, and other work that might be included in the product. Product owner, the person responsible for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. Product vision, a concise statement that describes the long-term goal or desired future state of the product. Process adaptation, continuously reviewing and adjusting the team's processes to improve efficiency and effectiveness. Progress, the advancement towards the sprint goal or the overall product goal. Pull system, a system where work is pulled into a stage only when there is capacity available, rather than being pushed. Q, quality, delivering software that meets the needs of the users and adheres to agreed-upon standards. Quick feedback, emphasizing the importance of receiving feedback early and often to make necessary adjustments. Road refactoring, the process of restructuring existing code without changing its external behavior to improve its design, readability, and maintainability. Refinement, backlog grooming, the ongoing process of reviewing, discussing, and detailing product backlog items to ensure they are ready for future sprints. Release, making a version of the software available to end users. Release planning, the process of determining which features will be included in a specific release and the timeline for that release. Respect, Scrum value, valuing each team member's contributions and perspectives. Responsiveness to change over following a plan. Agile value, prioritizing the ability to adapt to changing circumstances over strict adherence to an initial plan. Retrospective, sprint retrospective, a meeting held at the end of each sprint for the Scrum team to reflect on what went well, what could be improved, and to create a plan for implementing those improvements. Risk management, identifying, assessing, and mitigating potential risks that could impact the project. Scrum, a lightweight framework for developing, delivering, and sustaining complex products. Scrum Master, a servant leader for the Scrum team, helping everyone understand and enact Scrum theory, practices, and rules. Scrum Team, a self-organizing and cross-functional team consisting of the product owner, the development team, and the Scrum Master. Self-organizing teams, Agile principle, empowering the development team to decide how best to accomplish their work. Servant leader, a leader who focuses on the needs of the team members and their growth, rather than exercising traditional top-down authority. The Scrum Master often acts as a servant leader. Shared understanding, ensuring that all team members and stakeholders have a common understanding of the goals, requirements, and progress. Simplicity, Agile principle, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Sprint, a short time-boxed period, typically 1 to 4 weeks, during which the Scrum team works to complete a defined set of work from the sprint backlog. Sprint backlog, the set of product backlog items selected for a sprint, plus a plan for delivering the sprint goal. Sprint goal, a concise objective that the development team commits to achieving during the sprint through the implementation of the selected product backlog items. Sprint planning, a meeting held at the beginning of each sprint to plan the work to be performed during that sprint. Sprint review, a meeting held at the end of each sprint to inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed, with feedback from stakeholders. Stakeholder, anyone with an interest in the outcome of the project, including customers, users, business sponsors, etc. Story point, an abstract unit of measure used by the development team to estimate the relative effort required to implement a product backlog item. Sustainable pace, agile principle. The ability of the development team to maintain a consistent rate of work indefinitely. Swarming, a practice where multiple team members focus on a single high-priority task to get it completed quickly. System thinking, considering the interconnectedness of different parts of the system and how changes in one area can affect others. Task board, a visual tool used to track the progress of tasks within a sprint or project. Technical debt, the implied cost of additional rework caused by choosing an easy, limited solution now instead of using a better, longer approach. Test-driven development, TDD, a software development process where tests are written before the code is written. Time-boxed, an event in Agile that has a fixed maximum duration. Transparency, openness and clarity in communication, processes, and artifacts. Trust, a fundamental element for effective collaboration and self-organization within an Agile team. User, the person who will use the product or service being developed. User story, a short, simple description of a feature told from the perspective of the person who desires the new capability, typically following the format. As a type of user, I want some goal so that some reason. Usability, the ease with which users can learn and use a product to achieve their goals. Value, agile principle. Delivering valuable software to the customer is the primary measure of progress. Value stream, the sequence of activities required to design, produce, and deliver a product or service to a customer. Velocity, an optional indicative measure of the amount of work a development team can typically complete during a single sprint. Used for planning purposes. Visibility, making the progress, impediments, and other key information readily apparent to the team and stakeholders. Waste in Lean Agile. Anything that does not add value to the product or process. Agile aims to minimize waste. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Agile principle, emphasizing the delivery of functional software over comprehensive documentation. Workflow, the sequence of steps through which a work item progresses from initiation to completion. Work in progress, WIP, the number of tasks that have been started but have not yet been finished. Limiting WIP is a key Agile and Lean practice. Pataude, Extreme Programming, XP, an Agile software development framework that emphasizes values like simplicity, communication, feedback, courage, and respect, with practices like pair programming and test-driven development. Why yesterday's weather, using the team's past performance, e.g. velocity, as a guide for estimating and planning future work. Zero defects, an ideal goal of striving to produce software with no bugs or errors. While often aspirational, it highlights the importance of quality. If you want to go deeper with expert coaching, mock exams, Agile Immersion, and on-demand PMP training, visit pmpdoctor.com. Let's move on to more Agile terms. Agile values explained from the Agile Manifesto. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. While processes and tools are important, Agile prioritizes effective communication and collaboration among individuals. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Delivering functional software that meets the customer's needs is more valuable than extensive documentation that may not be used. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Working closely with the customer throughout the development process leads to better outcomes than rigidly adhering to a contract. Responding to change over following a plan. Agile embraces the fact that requirements may change and prioritizes the ability to adapt over sticking to an initial plan. Agile principles explained from the Agile Manifesto, First 6. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Agile focuses on delivering value to the customer frequently. Welcome changing requirements, even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Agile embraces change as an opportunity to deliver greater value. Deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to the shorter timescale. Frequent delivery allows for early feedback and reduces risk. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Close collaboration ensures alignment and shared understanding. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Empowered and motivated teams are more likely to succeed. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face conversation. Direct communication minimizes misunderstandings. Agile Principles Explained from the Agile Manifesto, Second 6. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Functional software that meets the customer's needs is the key indicator of success. Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Avoiding burnout and maintaining a consistent rhythm is crucial. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. High-quality code and design enable faster adaptation and delivery. Scrum Flashcards, Scrum. A lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. Empiricism. A principle that asserts knowledge comes from experience and decisions are made based on observation. Lean thinking. A mindset that emphasizes reducing waste and focusing on essentials. Transparency. A Scrum pillar where the process and work must be visible to those performing and receiving the work. Inspection. A Scrum pillar where artifacts and progress are examined frequently to detect variances or problems. Adaptation. A Scrum pillar where processes or materials are adjusted as soon as possible to minimize deviation. Sprint. A time-boxed event of 1 month or less in which a usable increment is created. Scrum Team. A small, cross-functional, self-managing team composed of a Scrum Master, Product Owner, and developers. Developers. Team members committed to creating a usable increment each sprint. Product Owner. The person accountable for maximizing product value and managing the product backlog. Scrum Master. The person accountable for establishing Scrum and coaching the team and organization in its use. Product Backlog. An emergent, ordered list of what is needed to improve the product. Sprint Backlog. A plan for the sprint including the sprint goal, selected product backlog items, and a plan for delivering them. Increment. A concrete stepping stone toward the product goal. Must be usable and meet the definition of done. Definition of done. A formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the required quality measures. Product goal. The long-term objective for the Scrum team, found in the product backlog. Sprint goal. The single objective for the sprint, providing focus and coherence for the Scrum team. Sprint planning. An event that initiates the sprint by laying out the work to be performed. Daily Scrum. A 15-minute event where developers inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt their plan. Sprint review. An event to inspect the outcome of the sprint and determine future adaptations. Sprint retrospective. An event to inspect how the last sprint went and identify ways to improve. Self-managing. Describes a team that decides internally who does what, when, and how. Cross-functional. Describes a team with all skills necessary to create value each sprint. Time box. A fixed maximum duration for an event to maintain focus and reduce waste. Commitment. A dedication to achieving goals and embodying Scrum values. Commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage. Focus. A Scrum value where everyone concentrates on the work of the sprint and the goals of the Scrum team. Openness. A Scrum value where the team and stakeholders are transparent about work and challenges. Respect. A Scrum value where team members trust each other to be capable, independent professionals. Courage. A Scrum value that empowers the team to work on tough problems and do the right thing. Commitment. Value. A Scrum value that reflects the team's dedication to achieving goals and supporting each other. Forecast. An estimate by developers of what they believe can be completed in a sprint. Refinement. The ongoing activity of breaking down and adding detail to product backlog items. Ready. A product backlog item that is clear enough to be selected for a sprint. Done. A state where the increment meets the definition of done and is usable. Usable. Describes an increment that can be used or released even if the product owner chooses not to. Sprint cancellation. Occurs if the sprint goal becomes obsolete. Only the product owner can cancel a sprint. Empirical process control. A way of working based on transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Sprint planning topic. 1. Why is this sprint valuable? The team collaborates to define the sprint goal. Sprint planning topic 2. What can be done this sprint? Developers select product backlog items. Sprint planning topic 3. How will the chosen work get done? Developers plan the work for each item. Incremental delivery. Delivering value in small, usable segments that build upon each other. Sprint forecast. A projection of work the developers believe they can complete during the sprint. Daily adaptation. Developers may adapt their plan at any time, not just in the daily Scrum. Time boxing. Limits the duration of Scrum events to improve focus and reduce unnecessary meetings. Scrum theory. Based on empiricism and lean thinking, focused on transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Product backlog item. A single unit of work needed to improve the product, found in the product backlog. Velocity. An optional metric showing the amount of work a team completes each sprint based on past performance. Burn down chart. A visual representation of remaining work versus time, used optionally for tracking progress. Sprint cadence. The regular recurring schedule of sprints, promoting predictability and rhythm. Sprint backlog ownership. Only developers can modify the sprint backlog during the sprint. Impediment. Anything that slows down or blocks the developers from making progress toward the sprint goal. Removing impediments. A key responsibility of the Scrum Master to support the Scrum team's effectiveness. Sprint review participants. The Scrum team and stakeholders collaborate on what to do next based on the increment. Sprint retrospective outcome. A plan for improvement which may be added to the next sprint backlog. Developer accountability. Developers are accountable for creating a plan, instilling quality, adapting daily, and holding each other accountable. Product owner. Accountability. The product owner is accountable for maximizing value and managing the product backlog. Scrum Master accountability. The Scrum Master is accountable for establishing Scrum and improving team effectiveness. Definition of done ownership. The developers are required to conform to the definition of done. Multiple Scrum teams. Teams working on the same product share the same product goal, product owner, and product backlog. Product backlog transparency. The product owner ensures the product backlog is visible, transparent, and understood. Product backlog refinement. The act of breaking down and further defining product backlog items into smaller, more precise items. Stakeholder. A person outside the Scrum team with a vested interest in the product. Value. The benefit delivered to stakeholders, created through usable increments. Product owner decisions. Must be respected by the organization to be effective. Inspectable increment. The result of each sprint that must be reviewed during the sprint review. Scrum Master as servant leader. Leads by serving the Scrum team, product owner, and the organization. Sprint planning time box. Maximum of 8 hours for a 1-month sprint, shorter for shorter sprints. Daily Scrum time box. 15 minutes held at the same time and place every workday. Sprint review time box, maximum of 4 hours for a 1-month sprint. Sprint retrospective time box, maximum of 3 hours for a 1-month sprint. Sprint start, begins immediately after the conclusion of the previous sprint. Sprint goal flexibility. Developers may negotiate the scope with the product owner but remain focused on the sprint goal. Self-management and flexibility. Developers decide how to do the work. No one tells them how. Empirical planning. Planning based on what has happened, not speculation. The increment and value. An increment must be usable to provide value, even if not released. Working product. The output of each sprint must be a usable increment that adds value. Release decision. A product owner may choose to release an increment before the sprint ends. Forecasting capacity. Developers use past performance, upcoming capacity, and the definition of done to forecast. Purpose of Scrum events. Designed to create regularity and reduce the need for additional meetings. Purpose of the sprint. To turn selected product backlog items into a usable increment. Increment verification. Each increment must be thoroughly verified and work with previous ones. Team size. Scrum teams are typically 10 or fewer people to stay nimble and effective. No hierarchies. There are no sub-teams or hierarchies within a Scrum team. One Scrum team, one product. All teams working on the same product must align under one product goal. Adaptation timing. Adaptation must occur as soon as a deviation is detected. Scrum adoption. The Scrum Master leads, trains, and coaches the organization in adopting Scrum. Burn-up chart. A visual chart showing work completed over time, used optionally in Agile tracking. Cumulative flow diagram. A chart that visualizes work in different stages. Helps track flow and bottlenecks. Velocity tracking. A measure of how much work a Scrum team completes per sprint, used for forecasting. Cone of uncertainty. A model showing that uncertainty decreases as the project progresses and more is known. Definition of ready. An optional concept meaning that product backlog items are well defined enough to be pulled into a sprint. Product backlog ownership. The product owner owns and manages the product backlog, though others may contribute. Sprint review goal. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog as needed. Definition of done transparency. Ensures everyone has a shared understanding of what work is complete. Sprint cadence consistency. Sprints happen on a consistent rhythm to foster predictability. Adaptation without empowerment. Becomes difficult if teams are not self-managing or empowered. Stacy complexity model. A model used to determine whether to use predictive or adaptive methods based on agreement and certainty. Technical debt. Work that is deferred for short-term gains, which may reduce future velocity or quality. Incremental versus iterative. Incremental adds usable chunks. Iterative improves based on feedback. Fail fast. A mindset that encourages early discovery of flaws to adapt and improve quickly. Agile. An iterative and incremental approach to development that emphasizes collaboration, flexibility, and continuous improvement. User story. A brief description of a feature from the user's perspective, often written as a user, I want goal, so that reason. Definition of ready. A set of criteria that a product backlog item must meet before it can be pulled into a sprint. Story point. An abstract unit used by teams to estimate the effort required to complete a product backlog item. Planning poker. A gamified consensus technique for estimating work using cards, often aligned with story points. Relative estimation. A method of estimating effort by comparing the size of one item to another instead of assigning time. Spike. A time-boxed research activity to gain knowledge or reduce uncertainty about a technical or design issue. Technical debt. The cost of rework caused by choosing a quick solution now instead of a better long-term approach. Continuous integration. The frequent merging of code into a shared repository with automated builds and tests. Continuous delivery. The ability to release software to production frequently and reliably at any time. Kanban. A visual workflow method that helps teams manage and improve the flow of work. Lean. A philosophy focused on maximizing value and minimizing waste. Scrum of Scrums. A coordination practice for multiple Scrum teams working on the same product. Emergent requirements. Requirements that evolve and become clearer through collaboration and inspection. Working software. A primary measure of progress in Agile. Functioning code that provides value. Sustainable pace. The team's ability to maintain consistent delivery without burnout. Servant leader. A leader who puts the team's needs first and helps them develop and perform at a high level. Facilitator. Someone who enables effective meetings and conversations, often the Scrum Master. Release. The act of making a usable increment available to stakeholders. Value stream. The sequence of activities required to deliver a product or service to a customer. Epic. A large body of work that can be broken down into multiple user stories. Theme. A collection of related user stories or epics that support a common business objective. Invest. A user story quality checklist. Independent, negotiable, valuable, estimable, small, testable. Acceptance criteria. The conditions a product backlog item must meet to be accepted as complete. User acceptance testing. Testing by end users to verify that the product meets their needs. Pair programming. A development technique where two developers work together at one workstation to write code. Test-driven development. A development approach where tests are written before the code that must pass the tests. Refactoring. The process of restructuring existing code without changing its external behavior to improve quality. Technical story. A type of backlog item focused on technical work such as infrastructure or architectural improvements. Non-functional requirements. Criteria that define how a system operates, e.g. performance, security, not what it does. Product vision. A concise statement describing the long-term goal or direction of the product. Release planning. Planning which product backlog items will be released and when. Impediment backlog. A list maintained by the Scrum Master of issues hindering the team's progress. Lead time. The total time from request to delivery of a work item. Cycle time. The time it takes for an item to go from start to finish in a workflow. Work in progress. Items that have been started but not completed. Limiting WIP improves flow. Pull system. A system where new work is started only when there is capacity to handle it. Information radiator. A visible display of key project data shared with the team and stakeholders. Agile Manifesto. A document that outlines the core values and principles behind agile software development. Adaptive planning. Planning that evolves based on feedback and new insights during the project. Iterative development. Developing software in cycles, allowing for feedback and improvement each round. Incremental development. Adding new functionality piece by piece while preserving existing functionality. Emergent design. The idea that system design evolves over time through collaboration and learning. Collective ownership. Everyone on the team is responsible for code quality and product success. Continuous feedback. Regularly gathering input to adjust product or process for better outcomes. Psychological safety. A team environment where members feel safe to take risks and speak freely. Burnout. A state of exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. Scrum encourages sustainable pace to avoid this. Feature flag. A technique that allows features to be turned on or off without deploying new code. Mob programming. An approach where the entire team works together on the same task at one computer. Technical agility. The ability to deliver quality software rapidly and reliably using sound engineering practices. Business agility. The ability of an organization to quickly adapt to market changes and customer needs. Scrum Guide. The official document co-created by Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland that defines Scrum. Scaled Agile Framework, SAFe. A framework for applying Agile practices across large enterprises with multiple teams. Large-Scale Scrum, LESS. A simple framework for scaling Scrum with multiple teams working on the same product. Nexus. A framework that extends Scrum to coordinate multiple teams working from a single product backlog. Disciplined Agile DA. A process decision framework that guides teams in choosing their way of working in Agile. Agile Coaching. A role focused on guiding teams and organizations in Agile adoption and improvement. Product Roadmap. A high-level plan that communicates product vision, direction, and progress over time. Impact Mapping. A strategic planning technique that connects deliverables to business goals and user impact. Story Mapping. A visual method to arrange user stories in a workflow to understand the user journey. Personas. Fictional profiles representing key user types to help teams understand user needs and goals. T-shaped profile. In essence, a T-shaped individual in Agile is a generalizing specialist. They are not just narrowly focused experts, but also have enough understanding of other areas to contribute meaningfully and break down silos within the team. Product management. The function responsible for the product lifecycle, from ideation to delivery and feedback. Scrum But, an anti-pattern where teams say, "We do Scrum, but," and deviate from core Scrum principles. Dark Scrum. A harmful implementation of Scrum that maintains rituals but violates its values and principles. Feature creep. The uncontrolled addition of features that can lead to scope issues and delay. Gold plating. Adding unnecessary features or functionality that were not requested or required. Yesterday's weather. Using past team performance to guide sprint planning and forecasting. Definition of awesome. An informal idea describing a step beyond the definition of done. Aspirational quality and delight. Minimum viable product, MVP. The smallest version of a product that delivers value and allows for feedback. Minimum marketable feature, MMF. A small, complete feature that delivers value and can be released independently. Agile principle. Welcome changing requirements. Even late in development, Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Working agreement. A set of team-defined rules and expectations that guide collaboration and accountability. Information radiator. A visible display of key project data that keeps the team and stakeholders informed in real time. Increment. A usable, valuable piece of the product that adds to previously delivered increments and meets the definition of done. Team of teams. A concept used in scaling frameworks where multiple Scrum teams coordinate under shared goals. Value stream mapping. A lean tool for analyzing and improving the flow of value through a process. Agile mindset. A way of thinking that values collaboration, customer feedback, and continuous learning. Shu-Ha-Ri, a model of learning mastery. Shu, follow. Ha, adapt. Rai, innovate. Inspect and adapt. The practice of continuously evaluating and adjusting process and product for improvement. Whole team approach. Everyone on the team is responsible for delivering the product, not just developers or testers. Walking skeleton. A minimal version of the system with end-to-end functionality to support future development. Simplicity. Maximizing the amount of work not done. One of the 12 Agile principles. Change resilience. The ability of teams to absorb and respond to change without breaking cadence or quality. Agile chartering. Defining the purpose, alignment, and context of a new team in a lightweight format. Collaborative games. Techniques like planning poker, impact mapping, or story mapping used to foster engagement and shared understanding. Time boxing. Setting a fixed limit for activities to maintain focus and discipline. Flow efficiency. A lean metric measuring the ratio of active work time to total cycle time. Slack time. Intentional space in the schedule to handle unforeseen work or spark innovation. Gemba. A lean term meaning the real place, emphasizing learning directly from where the work happens. Wipe limit. A practice from lean and Kanban to restrict how much work is in progress to maintain flow. Team norms. Agreed upon behaviors and expectations that guide how the team works together. Psychological contract. The unwritten expectations and mutual beliefs between team members and their organization. Technical excellence. Continuous attention to good design and high-quality code to enhance agility. Build, measure, learn. A loop in lean startup that emphasizes experimentation and validated learning. Servant leadership. Leading by serving others, removing barriers, and helping the team grow. Agile anti-pattern. A common but counterproductive practice that undermines Agile principles. Code smell. A symptom in code that may indicate deeper problems in the system design. Parking lot. A facilitation tool used to capture off-topic ideas or concerns without losing focus. Agile fluency. A model describing how teams grow in Agile proficiency and deliver value. Team health check. A regular assessment of team dynamics, communication, and satisfaction. Definition of done versus acceptance criteria. Definition of done applies to all items. Acceptance criteria are specific to individual product backlog items. Quick reminder, if you want to go deeper, deal with expert coaching, mock exams, Agile Immersion, and on-demand PMP training, visit pmpdoctor.com. Let's move on to the next section. Kanban Essentials. Bear in mind some of these terms are way advanced. Consider many as being for informational purposes only. Flow efficiency. The percentage of time a work item is actively being worked on versus the total lead time. Little's Law, a fundamental principle stating that the average number of items in a stable system, at WIP, is equal to the average arrival rate multiplied by the average time an item spends in the system. Lead time. L equals lambda W. Throughput. The rate at which work items are completed and exit the system over a period of time. Cumulative flow diagram, CFD, a visual representation of the flow of work, showing the number of items in different states over time. WIP limit policy. Explicit rules that define the maximum number of work items allowed in each stage of the workflow. Whole signal. A mechanism that signals when a downstream stage has capacity to accept more work from an upstream stage. Explicit policies. Clearly defined rules and guidelines governing how work flows through the system. Classes of service. Policies that categorize work items based on their priority, risk, or other criteria, influencing how they are managed in the system. Expedite lane, a special lane in the Kanban board for urgent or high-priority items that bypass normal WIP limits. Fixed date lane, a lane for work items that have a specific deadline. Standard lane, the primary lane for the majority of work items. Blocker. Clustering, identifying patterns and root causes of recurring blockers in the workflow. Service level expectation, SLE. A target lead time for a specific class of service. Value stream mapping, VSM. A lean technique used to visualize, analyze, and improve the flow of materials and information required to bring a product or service to a one customer. Upstream Kanban. Focusing on the activities that happen before work enters the main Kanban system, such as ideation and prioritization. Downstream Kanban. Focusing on the activities that happen after work leaves the main Kanban system, such as deployment and customer feedback. Kanban cadences. Regular meetings and feedback loops within a Kanban system, such as replenishment meetings, delivery planning, risk reviews, and operations reviews. Replenishment meeting. A meeting to decide which work items to pull into the system based on capacity and priorities. Delivery planning. A meeting to coordinate the release and delivery of completed work items. Risk review. A meeting to identify, discuss, and mitigate risks that could impact the flow of work. Operations review. a meeting to analyze the overall performance of the Kanban system and identify areas for improvement. Feedback loops, mechanisms for gathering information about the system's performance and making adjustments. Theory of constraints, TOC, a management philosophy that focuses on identifying and alleviating the most significant constraint, bottleneck in a system. Bottleneck, a stage in the workflow where the capacity is lower than the demand, causing work to accumulate. Constraint management, the practice of identifying and managing bottlenecks to improve the overall flow. Exploiting the constraint, making the most of the current capacity of the bottleneck. Still on Kanban, subordinating to the constraint, aligning the activities of other parts of the system to support the bottleneck. Elevating the constraint, increasing the capacity of the bottleneck. Drum buffer rope, DBR, a Tageuk scheduling method used to manage flow around a constraint. Kanban system design, the process of defining the workflow, policies, and visual board for a Kanban system. Workflow visualization, making the flow of work visible through a Kanban board or other visual aids. Work item type, different categories of work items that may have different workflows or policies, e.g. features, defects, technical debt. Swim lanes, horizontal lanes on a Kanban board used to separate different types of work, teams, or priorities. Commitment point, the point in the workflow where a decision is made to start working on a specific item. Delivery point, the point in the workflow where a completed item is delivered to the customer or end user. Lead time distribution, the range and frequency of different lead times for completed work items. Throughput variation, fluctuations in the rate at which work items are completed. Aging work in progress, monitoring how long work items have been in progress to identify potential delays or bottlenecks. Blocker management, the process of identifying, escalating, and resolving impediments to the flow of work. Service request, a demand for work to be done. Kanban board, a visual representation of the workflow, typically using columns to represent different stages and cards to represent work items. Card, ticket, a visual representation of a single work item on the Kanban board. Column, a representation of a stage or step in the workflow on the Kanban board. Personal Kanban, applying Kanban principles to manage individual tasks and workflows. Team Kanban, using Kanban to manage the workflow of a team. Portfolio. Kanban, applying Kanban at a higher level to manage a portfolio of projects or initiatives. Identify services, understanding the different services the team or system provides. Understand demand, analyzing the types and patterns of requests for those services. Design the workflow, mapping out the steps involved in delivering each service. Model the flow, representing the workflow visually on a Kanban board. Discover classes of service, identifying different types of work and their associated policies. Design the Kanban system, defining WIP limits, policies, and cadences. Visualize the flow, creating the physical or digital Kanban board. Make policies explicit, clearly documenting the rules governing the Kanban system. Manage flow, monitoring and addressing bottlenecks and blockages. Improve collaboratively and evolve experimentally. Continuously seeking ways to improve the system based on data and feedback. Kanban lens, a perspective that focuses on flow, visualization, and continuous improvement. Work item prioritization, deciding which work items to work on first based on value and other factors. Dependency management, identifying and managing dependencies between different work items. Lead time compression, efforts to reduce the total time it takes to complete a work item. Throughput optimization, efforts to increase the rate at which work items are completed. Waste reduction, identifying and eliminating activities that do not add value to the flow of work. Continuous improvement, Kaizen, an ongoing effort to improve products, services, or processes incrementally over time. Metrics-driven improvement, using data and metrics to identify areas for improvement and track the impact of changes. Kanban simulation. Using simulations to understand the behavior of a Kanban system under different conditions. Value stream optimization. Focusing on improving the flow of value to the customer across the entire value stream. Feedback cadence. The frequency at which feedback is sought and reviewed. Evolutionary change. Implementing changes to the system gradually and incrementally. Resistance to flow. Factors that impede the smooth flow of work. System stability. The ability of the Kanban system to maintain a predictable and consistent flow of work. Demand shaping. Influencing the types and volume of requests that enter the system. Capacity management. Understanding and managing the ability of the system to handle incoming work. Risk buffers. Mechanisms for absorbing unexpected delays or disruptions. Flow-based planning. Planning based on the capacity and flow of the system, rather than fixed schedules. Decoupling points. Stages in the workflow where work can be held without blocking upstream activities. Integration points. Stages in the workflow where different parts of the system or different teams need to coordinate. Policy negotiation. Involving stakeholders in the creation and modification of Kanban policies. Visual management. Using visual tools like Kanban boards and CFDs to communicate information and facilitate decision-making. Service delivery principles. Guiding principles for providing value to customers through a Kanban system. Manage flow. The primary practice in Kanban, focusing on ensuring a smooth and predictable flow of work. Limit work in progress. A core practice in Kanban to reduce multitasking and improve focus. Make policies explicit. Clearly defining the rules and guidelines for the system. Implement feedback loops, regularly seeking and acting on feedback to improve the system. Improve collaboratively, evolve experimentally. Encouraging teamwork and using data to drive continuous improvement. Start with what you do now. Kanban does not require radical changes to existing processes. Agree to pursue incremental evolutionary change. Kanban promotes gradual improvements. Respect the current roles, responsibilities, and job titles. Kanban works with existing organizational structures. Encourage acts of leadership at all levels. Kanban fosters a culture of ownership and initiative. Kanban coaching. Guiding individuals and teams in adopting and improving their use of Kanban. Kanban training. Educating people on the principles and practices of Kanban. Kanban community. A network of practitioners who share knowledge and experiences. Kanban software. Digital tools used to visualize and manage Kanban workflows. Physical Kanban board. A traditional Kanban board using physical cards and columns. Hybrid Kanban system. Combining elements of Kanban with other methodologies or practices. Kanban anti-patterns. Common mistakes or ineffective practices in Kanban implementations. Workflow states. The different stages a work item goes through in the Kanban system. Pull-based system. Work is initiated only when there is demand and capacity downstream. System thinking. Understanding the interconnectedness of different parts of the system and how they influence flow. Agile Flashcards foundational set of expanded definitions. Agile. A mindset founded on a set of philosophies, values, and principles that enables us to pivot to the ever-changing world around us. Agile Manifesto. A declaration of values and principles created in 2001 to guide Agile software development. Individuals and interactions. Agile values people and collaboration over rigid tools and processes. Working software. Agile prioritizes functional deliverables over comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration. Agile promotes continuous customer involvement over contract negotiation. Responding to change. Agile adapts to change rather than resisting it through static plans. Deliver frequently. Agile teams deliver working software in short, regular intervals. Business and developers together. Ongoing collaboration between business stakeholders and developers is essential. Build around motivated individuals. Support and trust the team to get the job done. Face-to-face conversation, the most effective communication method in Agile teams. Working software is progress. Output is measured by usable functionality, not status reports. Sustainable pace. Teams should work at a pace they can maintain indefinitely. Technical excellence. Constant attention to good design enhances agility. Simplicity. Maximize the amount of work not done to stay focused. Self-organizing teams. Best solutions emerge from teams that manage themselves. Reflect and adjust. Teams inspect themselves regularly to improve. Agile mindset. A belief system rooted in learning, adapting, and delivering value. Incremental development. Build the product piece by piece with each increment adding value. Iterative development. Continuously refine the product through cycles of feedback. Inspect and adapt. Review results and adjust plans frequently. Servant leadership. Leadership that focuses on enabling the team's success. Time boxing. Limiting events or work to a fixed time to maintain focus. Emergent requirements. Requirements evolve based on learning and feedback. Definition of done. The agreed criteria for considering work complete. Agile planning. Flexible, continuous planning based on emerging information. Agile estimation. Forecasting work using relative sizing and team discussion. Fail fast. Learn early by running small, low-risk experiments. Transparency. Work and progress are visible to everyone. Collaboration. Frequent interaction between all stakeholders. Feedback loops. Short cycles to ensure alignment and course correction. Minimum viable product. The smallest usable version of a product to test value. Backlog refinement. Ongoing process of clarifying and improving backlog items. Cross-functional team. Team with all skills needed to deliver the product. Continuous learning. Agile teams grow through retrospectives and exploration. Empirical process. Making decisions based on evidence and experience. Agile team. A self-managed cross-functional group delivering value. Agile coach. Someone who guides teams and organizations in Agile adoption. Customer feedback. The foundation of adapting product direction in Agile. Agile chartering. Creating shared purpose and boundaries for a new team. Information radiator. Visible, real-time data that keeps everyone aligned. Pull-based planning. Work is pulled when there is capacity, not pushed arbitrarily. Continuous improvement. Teams continuously evolve through feedback and learning. Collective ownership. Everyone is responsible for product quality and outcomes. Agile culture. A work environment built on trust, respect, and openness. Psychological safety. Team members feel safe to speak, experiment, and fail. Product thinking. Focus on customer needs, outcomes, and value. Limiting work in progress. Reduces context switching and increases focus. Lean thinking. Maximizing value while eliminating waste. System optimization. Improving the whole system, not just isolated parts. Agile release planning. A high-level view of when value will be delivered. Agile velocity. A team's measure of work completed per iteration. Relative estimation. Sizing work in relation to other items, not exact time. Planning horizon. Agile favors short-term clarity with long-term vision. Product backlog. An ordered list of everything that might be needed in the product. Prioritization. Delivering the highest value work first. Yagni. You aren't going to need it. Build only what's needed now. Simplicity in practice. Eliminating unnecessary features or processes. Team norms. Agreed ways of working that support collaboration. Definition of ready. Criteria that clarify when backlog items are ready for work. Agile architecture. Evolves over time. Supports delivery and adaptability. Increment. A usable chunk of functionality that adds value. Working agreement. Guidelines created by the team for how they collaborate. Agile testing. Testing early and often, ideally automated. Technical debt. Work left undone that may slow future development. Story mapping. Visualizing and organizing user stories by workflow. Impact mapping. Aligning product features with business outcomes. Personas. Fictional representations of users to guide empathy and design. Feature toggle. Control which features are visible without redeployment. Short feedback cycles. Essential for adjusting direction early. Emergent design. Architecture and design that evolves with product needs. Build, measure, learn. Lean loop for experimentation and validated learning. Agile principle. Welcome change. Even late in development, change is welcome. Team autonomy. Agile teams decide how they get work done. Respect. Every team member is valued and heard. Courage. Agile teams are brave enough to raise issues and face tough problems. Openness. Transparency in goals, progress, and challenges. Commitment. Agile teams commit to goals and to each other. Focus. Concentrating on the sprint goal and value delivery. Swarming. Team members collaborate to complete work as a group. Mob programming. Entire team works together on the same task at one time. Exploration. Trying new ideas to discover better ways to deliver. Customer centricity. Putting customer needs at the center of every decision. Flow. A steady and predictable movement of value. Cycle time. Time taken to complete a single work item from start to finish. Lead time. Total time from request to delivery. Agile contracts. Agreements that support collaboration and flexibility. Team accountability. Responsibility for outcomes belongs to the entire team. Just-in-time planning. Only plan in detail what's about to be done. Swim lanes. Visual grouping of work types or roles on a board. Burn-up chart. Tracks completed work against the total scope. Burn-down chart. Tracks remaining work over time. Agile leadership. Supports, grows, and trusts teams instead of controlling them. Visual management. Seeing the work makes it easier to manage and improve. Team resilience. The ability to adapt and bounce back from setbacks. Prioritized outcomes. Focusing on results that matter most to the customer. Agile mindset over agile mechanics. Agility is more about thinking than rituals or tools. Lean startup. A method for building products based on validated learning. Validated learning. Using real-world results to inform decisions. Cumulative flow diagram. Shows work in various states to detect bottlenecks. Agile culture change. Transformation happens through mindset, not mandates. Let's move on now to another area, the agile mindset. Very useful for professional exams. PMP exam. Agile mindset explained for each eco task. Domain 2, people. In an agile lens, 14 tasks. Task 1, manage conflict. Agile lens, conflict is fuel. Surface it, don't suppress it. In Agile, conflict isn't avoided, it's managed proactively. High-performing teams don't suppress tension. They bring it forward in retrospectives, daily stand-ups, and team agreements. Conflict is often a signal that something important is being overlooked, such as unclear roles, misunderstood requirements, or competing priorities. Agile teams inspect the root of the conflict, not just the symptom, and adapt by fostering psychological safety, encouraging open conversations, and resolving disputes through collaborative facilitation, not command and control. Servant leaders help the team reflect and grow stronger, not just smoother. Task 2, lead a team. Agile lens, lead with vision, walk with the team. Agile leadership isn't about commanding from the top. It's about setting a compelling direction and then walking alongside your team. You lead by casting a clear vision, like the product goal, supporting diverse thoughts and backgrounds, and modeling the values you want to see. The Agile leader flexes between servant, coach, facilitator, or even challenger, depending on the team's needs. You don't inspire through titles, and you do it through clarity, empathy, and connection. Think. Vision plus values plus velocity. Team empowerment. This means you engage team members, understand what motivates them, and support them through shared ownership of outcomes. Task 3. Support team performance. Agile lens. Performance is a loop, not a label. Agile teams improve through reflection, not inspection. You don't appraise Agile teams through command and control metrics. Instead, use retrospectives to inspect how the team is doing. Velocity, throughput, team morale, value delivered. You encourage individual growth through feedback loops, e.g., daily syncs, peer reviews, not one-time evaluations. Agile leaders recognize contributions often, pair team members intentionally, and mentor the team towards sustainable pace and technical excellence. This creates a feedback-rich environment that promotes continuous development, not annual judgment. Task 4. Empower team members and stakeholders. Agile lens. Push decisions to the edge. Agile thrives when decisions are made closest to the work. The team should own how they get the work done, from defining tasks to assigning responsibilities. The product owner owns the what, the team owns the how. Empowerment means giving clear boundaries, then stepping back. It also means recognizing stakeholder roles. They bring context and constraints. But value is built by the team. As a leader, you create space for that empowerment and remove obstacles that block autonomy. Task 5. Ensure team members' stakeholders are adequately trained. Agile lens. Train for the sprint. Learn every day. Agile teams grow through just-in-time learning. Rather than massive upfront training, teams inspect what skills they need per sprint or release. That could mean a workshop, pairing, mentoring, or external courses. Stakeholders also need training, especially in how Agile works, e.g., how to interact with the backlog, how feedback loops work. Training is a continuous investment in delivering value faster and smarter. In Agile, learning is embedded in the workflow, not an afterthought. Task 6. Build a team. Agile lens. Assemble for agility. Adapt for growth. Agile teams are built cross-functionally, meaning all the skills needed to deliver value are present. The team structure is intentional. Small enough to move fast, skilled enough to get the job done. You assess skill gaps iteratively. Think, velocity drops, impediments, skill bottlenecks, and adjust. You also focus on team culture. Psychological safety, self-organization, and knowledge sharing, e.g., documentation, onboarding playbooks, are part of the build process. Agile team building isn't one and done, it's ongoing. Task 7. Address and remove impediments, obstacles, and blockers. Agile lens. Make flow your mission. Agile leaders don't wait for escalation. They proactively seek out and eliminate impediments that slow the team. This could be technical, e.g., environment issues, organizational, e.g., waiting on decisions, or interpersonal, e.g., misalignment. The Scrum Master plays a key role here, continuously scanning for blockers in daily scrums, retros, and beyond. The goal? Keep the team in flow, maximize throughput, and protect the sprint goal. A good leader attacks impediments the same way a team attacks the backlog, systematically and transparently. Task 8. Negotiate project agreements. Agile lens. Co-create the agreement, don't just win it. Agile contracts and agreements favor collaboration over rigid terms. Whether you're negotiating scope, resources, or expectations, Agile promotes transparency, shared goals, and adaptability. Agreements are based on shared understanding, definition of done, team norms, delivery cadence, not just deliverables. Product owners negotiate priorities and scope daily with stakeholders. The goal isn't to win, it's to create alignment that allows flexibility as conditions change. Agile agreements are living documents, not frozen ones. Task 9. Collaborate with stakeholders. Agile lens, treat stakeholders like teammates. In Agile, stakeholder collaboration isn't just a review meeting, and it's embedded in the process. You engage stakeholders through frequent feedback loops, sprint reviews, demos, backlog refinement, and use techniques like personas, story mapping, and collaborative prioritization to stay aligned. Trust is built through transparency, quick wins, and follow-through. Stakeholders feel heard and respected because they are. A good Agile team treats stakeholder engagement as continuous, not episodic. Task 10. Build shared understanding. Agile lens. Clarity comes from conversation and working product. Agile assumes that misunderstanding is natural, so it bakes in constant clarification. We use user stories, acceptance criteria, visual models, and feedback from demos to build shared understanding. When things are unclear, we ask, clarify, and iterate. You don't solve misunderstanding by sending more documents. You fix it with better conversation and working increments. A product backlog that evolves in collaboration is one of the best tools to build shared vision. Task 11. Engage and support virtual teams. Agile lens. Distance doesn't mean disconnected. Agile virtual teams need intentional support. You use digital tools, boards, chat, async video, create clear working agreements, e.g. time zones, response norms, and foster connection. Retrospectives should regularly assess engagement and belonging. You also support culture across the wire through rituals, celebrations, shout-outs, transparency, and asynchronous alignment tools. The remote Agile team is one of discipline and rhythm, not detachment. Task 12. Define team ground rules. Agile lens. Let the team write the playbook. Ground rules in Agile are co-created. These rules shape how the team collaborates, communicates, and holds each other accountable. They include agreements on stand-up time, code reviews, communication norms, and how conflict is handled. These aren't policies imposed from above the city. They're social contracts built within the team. And when rules are broken, they're revisited. Not enforced with blame, but resolved through reflection and alignment. Task 13. Mentor relevant stakeholders. Agile lens. Everyone's a coach, everyone's a learner. Mentoring in Agile is baked into the way we work. Leaders coach the team. Product owners mentor stakeholders in Agile value delivery. Scrum Masters mentor everyone in how to improve processes. The mentoring mindset isn't formal. It's peer-to-peer, on-demand, and humble. You look for moments to guide and grow, whether it's helping a new team member understand velocity or helping a stakeholder learn how backlog prioritization works. Task 14. Promote team performance through emotional intelligence. Agile lens, ECOG is the operating system of an Agile team. Agile teams work in high-change environments. Emotional intelligence is key to staying resilient, communicative, and collaborative. Leaders observe behaviors, adapt their approach to personality styles, and mediate tension with empathy. Teams that lack EQ fragment under pressure. Teams with EQ thrive through trust, self-awareness, and mutual respect. Emotional intelligence is what transforms a group of professionals into a truly Agile team. Domain 2, process. In an Agile lens, 17 tasks. Task 1. Execute project with the urgency required to deliver business value. Agile lens. Deliver value. Early, often, and intentionally. In Agile, execution isn't about following a rigid plan. It's about delivering tangible value in short cycles. Agile teams break work down into increments and deliver them fast. We talk about urgency not as panic, but as discipline. The discipline to release early, get feedback, and adjust. We prioritize the product backlog to ensure high-value features come first. Our working style via sprints, Kanban flow, or continuous delivery is designed to keep value flowing, always tied to business outcomes. Task 2. Manage communications. Agile lens. Make communication a built-in system, not a side task. In the PMP world, manage doesn't mean just doing, it means planning, executing and monitoring communications. In Agile, we do this continuously. Agile communication is lean, real-time, and visual. We don't write long communication plans, we use information radiators, daily stand-ups, digital boards, and team working agreements. Agile ensures communication is adaptive and frequent, not buried in documents. Feedback loops and retrospectives, reviews, and backlog refinement are communication by design. Task 3. Assess and manage risks. Agile lens. Surface risks early and often. Then adapt. Agile treats risk as part of every planning conversation. Teams identify risks at backlog refinement, in planning sessions, and retrospectives. Agile assumes uncertainty, so we bake risk into how we work. Frequent delivery reduces the risk of building the wrong thing. Small batch sizes reduce the cost of getting it wrong. Instead of a static risk register, we visualize risks, spike uncertain features, and prioritize riskier items earlier. In Agile, iteration is risk mitigation. Task 4. Engage stakeholders. Agile lens. Stakeholder engagement is a sprint-by-sprint activity. We don't just analyze and categorize stakeholders, we engage them through working product. Every sprint review is an opportunity to get stakeholders involved and aligned. Agile teams co-create roadmaps with stakeholders, get feedback early, and adjust based on real-time needs. The product owner represents stakeholder interests, but the entire team benefits from hearing feedback firsthand. In Agile, engagement isn't a phase, it's an ongoing relationship. Task 5. Plan and manage budget and resources. Agile lens. Think in small batches and steady burn rates. Agile budgeting is often done incrementally. We plan for capacity-based spend, e.g. burn rates per sprint or team, instead of fixed predictive budgets. We inspect spend regularly and adjust based on velocity, throughput, or shifting business priorities. When we manage resources, we think people first, cross-functional teams that stay together over time, not moving people like chess pieces. Agile resource planning prioritizes team stability and sustainable pace. Task 6. Plan and manage schedule. Agile lens. Time boxes over timelines. In Agile, schedule management looks different. Instead of Gantt charts, we use time boxes, sprints, iterations, and flow metrics, cycle time, throughput. Story points and team velocity help us forecast delivery, but we acknowledge that scope and effort evolve. Planning is iterative, not one and done. We continually inspect progress in reviews and adjust backlog priorities as needed. Agile schedules aren't fixed, they're responsive. Coordination with other teams happens through shared cadence, dependencies tracking, and open communication. Task 7. Plan and manage quality of products, JIAS deliverables. Agile lens. Quality is built in, not inspected. In Agile, teams define quality through the definition of done. It includes code reviews, testing, documentation, and user acceptance. Agile promotes continuous integration, test-driven development, and automated testing. So quality is maintained sprint by sprint. We inspect deliverables constantly through reviews and retrospectives, ensuring we don't just ship fast, we ship right. Planning for quality happens through acceptance criteria, pair programming, and constant team discussion, not just quality control checkpoints. Task 8. Plan and manage scope. Agile lens. Scope emerges through collaboration and feedback. In Agile, scope isn't a fixed statement. It's a living, breathing backlog. We define it collaboratively through user stories, and it evolves based on user feedback and learning. Agile scope management includes backlog refinement, story slicing, and prioritization techniques like MOSCOW or WSJF. We manage scope by continuously asking, is this the highest value thing we can build next? Scope is broken into epics, features, and stories, and validated sprint by sprint. Task 9. Integrate project planning activities. Agile lens. Plan as a team. Adapt. Continuously, Agile planning is not siloed or sequential. We integrate planning across scope, schedule, budget, risk, and communication continuously. The team co-creates the sprint backlog, aligning around the sprint goal. Product owners work with stakeholders to update the product backlog based on feedback. Dependencies are surfaced early, and we plan just enough to move forward, then adjust. We consolidate plans through visual boards, roadmaps, and release plans, all meant to evolve. Task 10. Manage project changes. Agile lens. Change is not an exception. It's a core principle. Agile teams expect change. We don't resist it. We inspect it. New information, shifting needs, and feedback loops drive change. Product owners adjust the backlog continually, and teams replan every sprint. Instead of formal change requests, we adapt during planning and refinement sessions. That said, change still has structure. We consider trade-offs, involve stakeholders, and maintain traceability through the backlog and definition of done. Agile change management is lightweight, fast, and inclusive. Task 11. Plan and manage procurement. Agile lens. Collaborate with partners, not just vendors. Agile procurement favors flexible, value-driven contracts. We engage vendors as part of the value stream, not just external suppliers. Contracts may include incremental delivery, quality gates, or shared backlogs. We co-create solutions, involve vendors in demos, and inspect their deliverables just like internal work. Agile leaders manage procurement by aligning vendors to Agile cadence and outcomes, not just deadlines and deliverables. Task 12. Manage project artifacts. Agile lens. Keep artifacts. Light, useful, and visible Agile doesn't discard documentation. It minimizes unnecessary overhead. We create what's needed to communicate, collaborate, and deliver value. Backlogs, burn-down charts, test plans, and working agreements are living artifacts. Version control and accessibility are maintained through tools like Jira, Confluence, Miro, or shared drives. Agile artifacts support decision-making. They don't sit in drawers. We inspect them continuously and adapt as needed. Task 13. Determine appropriate project methodology, methods, and practices. Agile lens. Tailor. Your approach, don't just follow. One Agile promotes fit-for-purpose thinking. You assess the nature of the project, complexity, risk, stakeholder tolerance, and select practices that suit. You may choose Scrum, Kanban, XP, or a hybrid model. Agile doesn't lock you into one way, and it encourages inspection, experimentation, and adaptation. Teams start where they are and evolve. The goal isn't to be agile, is to deliver value with agility. Task 14. Establish project governance structure. Agile lens. Light governance, heavy transparency. Agile governance is less about hierarchy, more about clarity. Instead of approval chains, we use visible metrics, definition of done, and working product as indicators of progress. Escalation paths exist, but they're often within the team, e.g. Scrum Master, Product Owner, Sponsor. Governance focuses on enabling flow, clearing blockers, and ensuring alignment with value, not sign-offs for their own sake. Task 15. Manage project issues. Agile lens. Issues are just risks that happened. Handle them iteratively. When issues arise, Agile teams swarm. Whether it's technical debt, production bugs, or stakeholder dissatisfaction, we address it transparently. We prioritize issues, bring them into the backlog, and often discuss them in the retrospective. The Agile team doesn't hide issues. Yes, they expose them early and adapt the plan quickly to keep delivering. Task 16. Ensure knowledge transfer for project continuity. Agile lens. Share knowledge. As you go, not just at the end. In Agile, knowledge transfer happens sprint by sprint through pairing, mob programming, shared documentation, and regular demos. We don't wait until the end to write handoffs. We make our work visible, document as we go, lightweight, and cross-train team members continuously. Agile teams are built for resilience. Continuity is baked in. Task 17. Plan and manage project, phase, closure or transitions. Agile lens, close with clarity, celebrate with purpose. Agile projects end with intentionality. We define what done means not only for features but for the project itself. We hold final retrospectives, release reviews, and lessons learned sessions. Knowledge is handed off, documentation finalized, and unused backlog items archived or transitioned. Agile closure includes stakeholder alignment, transition readiness, and team celebration. It's not just an admin step, it's a learning opportunity and moment to reflect on the journey. Domain 3. Business environment. In an Agile lens, 4 tasks. Task 1. Plan and manage project compliance. Agile lens, stay compliant through continuous awareness and lightweight controls. Agile doesn't mean sloppy, it means lean but aware. Compliance in Agile is built into our ways of working. Whether it's security, safety, regulatory, or legal obligations, Agile teams use definition of done, acceptance criteria, and regular inspection to ensure compliance. We create lightweight documentation, e.g. checklists, automation scripts, or audit trails. So the team doesn't slow down but still stays aligned with legal and industry standards. Rather than relying on a massive compliance phase, Agile teams stay aligned incrementally through reviews, stakeholder collaboration, and tight feedback loops. Task 2. Evaluate and deliver project benefits and value. Agile lens. Deliver value continuously and validate it in real time. In Agile, benefits are not just evaluated at the end, they're delivered and inspected continuously. The product owner works closely with stakeholders to define what value looks like and prioritizes backlog items accordingly. We track progress through working software, not just plans. Velocity, customer satisfaction, and usage feedback tell us if we're on track. If we're not hitting the expected value, we pivot. Value delivery is not a phase, it's a habit. We don't just hope the value gets realized, we build it, test it, and validate it incrementally. Task 3. Evaluate and address external business environment changes for impact on scope. Agile lens. Pivot with purpose, respond with agility. Market shifts, regulatory updates, emerging tech. Change is constant. Agile teams expect the environment to evolve. We evaluate changes frequently through backlog refinement, stakeholder engagement, and reviews. Product owners assess how these external shifts impact priorities and scope, and then adjust the backlog with input from stakeholders. Instead of replanning from scratch, Agile lets us absorb change by realigning epics, shifting priorities, or even adjusting the product vision. This task in Agile is about being responsive without being reckless. Task 4. Support organizational change. Agile lens. Be the change agent. Your organization needs. Agile project professionals are not just doers, they're change agents. You don't just deliver products, you help evolve the system that delivers them. That means understanding organizational culture, identifying where change will create friction, and facilitating safe-to-fail experiments. Agile change management is grassroots and top-down. It involves coaching, influencing, and modeling the Agile values that drive trust, transparency, and learning. Whether it's shifting mindsets from control to collaboration, or moving from siloed departments to cross-functional teams, Agile professionals support change through leadership by example. You've just explored the PMP exam content outline through an Agile lens, breaking down all 35 tasks across people, process, and business domains in a way that's practical, clear, and relevant to real-world projects. But this is just the beginning. If you want to go deeper, with expert coaching, mock exams, Agile Immersion, and on-demand PMP training, visit pmpdoctor.com. Whether you're preparing for the exam or applying these concepts on the job, pmpdoctor.com provides the tools, training, and support to help you lead confidently in any environment. Predictive, agile, or hybrid. Let's keep building. Let's get you certified. Let's get you thriving.